Hi everyone, Jared Nickel, Executive Director of ProjectCoe.com here, and today I'm going to take a look at Spider-Man Web of Shadows for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to check out the other versions just yet, but if I do, I will gladly post another video review explaining the differences between the Wii version and the rest of them. Well, I guess I got to start off by saying that I am a huge Spider-Man fanatic. I've actually been collecting for years the original Amazing Spider-Man comics, and my lifelong goal is pretty well to get a complete run from Amazing Fantasy 15 until today. Believe it or not, but I actually am pretty close to completing that goal. Why do I tell you this? Just so that you know the truth that I'm completely a fanboy and I've played just about every Spider-Man game under the sun. Now, even though I am a fanboy, I would like to consider myself, as unbiased as possible. I actually ripped Spider-Man 3 a new one, so there, just so you know. Okay, so for Web of Shadows, I guess I gotta start off by just telling you that the game's actually a lot better than I thought it was. I had read a lot of different reviews, and I had heard a lot of different things from my different friends in who work for different media outlets out there. But I gotta tell you, it really was a lot better than I thought it would be. The story, for starters, is a lot more interesting than the previous Spider-Man titles, and the reason is because it's an all-new storyline that feels very similar to the comic series. What that means is you're going to get a lot of different characters from the Marvel Universe, including, characters that you don't always see, like Luke Cage, Moon Knight, Black Cat, characters like that. And the overall storyline is, without spoiling everything, because it is actually interesting, there's essentially a symbiote breakout that happens all throughout New York. So it's kind of interesting how it affects some of your beloved characters. For example, like imagine a symbiote-induced Wolverine, for example. That could be kind of cool, no? And yeah, exactly, just like I thought. The core gameplay takes place pretty well just like, the last bunch of 3D Spider-Man titles have. In other words, it uses a Grand Theft Auto-like free-roaming city. There's a lot of side missions you can take part in, but I'll be really honest, most of these are repetitive like hell. The good news is that the core missions are actually a lot more interesting, and they are quite varied. They range from, following, let's say, the Black Cat from rooftop to rooftop, to stuff like, I don't know, protecting a bunch of citizens that are being attacked by these citizens that have been infected with symbiotes. So it's just kind of interesting to see all these different variations. And I gotta say, when you compare it to the previous Spider-Man titles, it's like leagues beyond it, I'll tell you that. Spider-Man 2 still remains probably the best Spider-Man title they've released so far, but this really is a close second. Okay, another interesting little change made to the series here is the fact that you have two different aspects to all the different choices you can make. You can either take the red side or the good side, or the black symbiote side, the evil side. Now, truth be told, this doesn't really change too much of the overall storyline. It'll net you just different buddy characters, which is something else I need to talk about. Buddy characters, basically the way this works is you have a special meter that fills up the more you take part in battles. When the meter is full, depending on which side you've been pairing yourself with, you'll have different buddy characters that'll come out and help you take on all the different enemies. So, for example, if you've paired yourself with the red side, or the quote-unquote good side, you'll have characters like Luke Cage and Wolverine. Whereas if you're on the evil side, you'll have like Black Cat and Vulture and characters like that. So it's kind of interesting to see in that regard how the split actually works. I know you guys are, just like me and wondering, well, how's the actual swinging and battle system? I gotta say, swinging is... It's not super realistic. What that means is, sometimes you'll be in a semi-open area and suddenly you're swinging from what appears to be nothing. But for that's not, that doesn't happen all the time. For the most part, if you're up by a really tall building, you'll be able to, web swing from one peak to the next pretty accurately. And the swinging is been refined down to make it really easy. Press a button and that's pretty well it. As for combat, this again, it does get repetitive, very, very repetitive over time, because you're essentially pressing X multiple times. There are variations. For example, if you press one of the other face buttons, you're able to actually like sort of fly up into the air, shoot out a web line, attach it to one of the enemies, and then like pull yourself towards the enemy and continue to do aerial combats like that. And I gotta say that the aerial combat system, it actually blew my mind. I didn't expect it to be that diverse and that deep, and it works really, really, really good. Don't listen to anyone else out there for whatever you've heard. That was one of the things that I had heard personally from a lot of my friends in the industry that were saying that, oh yeah, it was pretty crappy. But I actually found it to be utterly fantastic. One thing that's not so fantastic, and it's sort of expected with a game like this, is the camera system. Anytime you use sort of a lock-on mechanic where you're using Spidey's spider sense, he'll automatically lock on to different enemies. And, you know, you got to imagine yourself as Spider-Man, so you can be upside down, attached to any surface, be on a ledge, stuff like that. It can be extraordinarily hard to make out where you're actually supposed to go or what you're supposed to do, given how the camera will stay focused on one enemy. While this is fantastic during aerial combat moves, it's really problematic while you're on the ground or attached to a surface. So what I found best is simply don't use your spider sense unless you absolutely have to. But anyways, just putting it out there. One of the final things I guess I should mention is about the level up system. This is really, really, really simple. It works pretty well like the other Spidey titles have, where basically the more missions you complete, the more points you get, and you can unlock, you know, new combinations, new special abilities, and things like that. Graphically, generally speaking, we don't expect these titles to be too nice, given the fact that they, you know, they're so open-ended and you can interact with absolutely anything. But I gotta admit, during the later portions of the game, when the symbiotes have basically taken over all of New York, I was really surprised to see just how detailed everything looked. It's true that it can run rather sluggish at times, especially during the later portions of the game. But for the most part, characters animate really well. AI, it's nothing to go on about. For example, if you have Wolverine as one of your buddy characters and you're fighting on a roof, he like constantly jumps off the roof to try and attack other characters. Just weird stuff like that. But again, you know, if you compare absolutely everything that the title does right, it was a lot better than I thought it would be. As for the audio, Peter's voice is just pathetically horrible. He sounds like an Omega geek, which is not what Spider-Man is supposed to be. He's supposed to be essentially a regular, everyday, average Joe, with the exception being that he's into geeky things. So almost all of us at COE could be considered Peter Parker. But he sounds like a really, really big dork in the game, which is kind of unfortunate. The other voice actors, though, they do a pretty good job. I actually liked the voice actor they got for Wolverine and for the Black Widow and the Black Cat. Stuff like that. It was pretty impressive. For the music soundtrack, good stuff. I mean, nothing overly amazing here. This isn't the type of title that's going to win any awards, but, you know, it's not bad. Not bad at all. So, final verdict is, I gave the game a 7.6 on 10. I mean, it's not the greatest Spider-Man title out there, but if you are a fan of superhero video games, I think you'll be, like me, pleasantly surprised by what Spider-Man Web of Shadows does right compared to what it actually does wrong. So if you're interested, I'd actually recommend you go out and give this one a rent, see if it's for you, and if you're a big Spider-Man fan, I think you'll really enjoy it. So thanks for listening, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Take care.